It's now 7:32, and in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, this meeting has hereby been given appropriate public notice, and I therefore call this meeting to order. I will start by calling the roll in the Brady Bunch windows that I see on my screen. As always, just acknowledge you're here after I call your name. David Weaver.
Yep, here.
Mr. Bob LaCourte.
Here.
Thank you. Nancy Hohenstein. See you, Nancy. I don't hear you. Okay, we'll come back, Nancy. Jessica Johnson.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
Dominic Stanzione.
Here.
And welcoming our newest member, Bill Burtz. Bill.
Yes, I'm here.
Bill, welcome. And our staff person, Vince Dominic, is also here in attendance. I don't see our council liaison Ram, but he might pop in. But
He said he'd be a little bit.
Andrew, he's in India.
No.
Okay.
He's at the sewer authority meeting, so he'll be a little late.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
And the mayor told me the wrong thing.
Well, I'll reserve comment on that.
Okay.
So first things first, welcome, Bill. Welcome to the group. Before we roll into the formal actions, you want to just give yourself a quick introduction for the rest of the group? I know it's awkward to meet through this way, but hopefully soon we'll be all in person. Bill?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here, and I hope I can help in some way. I look forward to meeting everybody in person.
And Bill comes to us. He's got a little bit of a history background. He's I guess, what was the term I used the other day, Bob? A hobbyist in history.
Yeah, that's probably correct.
And he comes to us as a retired music professor from Rutgers. So it should be fun. With that, we do have 3 formal review actions on the table. What I didn't see on here, though, Vince, is 32M. I'm sorry, it is there. I just got confused. The first one to review is 2022-4, which is 47 Laurel. It's for a new fence. So is anybody here for that application? Please unmute yourself and say hi.
Should I speak now?
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm sorry. Hi. I live. My name is Serene Sawah. I live in 47 Laurel Avenue, and I reached out to for Vincent to put a fence between me and my next door neighbor. And it's not a full fence. It's like an area where her front to my front, and there is no privacy between us. And I mean, I don't know if I should mention what's going on between me and my neighbor. She's a very great woman. She's like in her 80s. The issue is between her 2 children. She has her son and daughters who are living with her, and they have been verbally loud, mean, discriminating against me, throwing things into my yard.
The dispute with your neighbor is not part of the discussion we have to have.
Right.
We're here
Okay.
just to review the aspects of the application, which are the fence that you would like to install
Mhm.
and the location which you install it. So I'm not sure that you could see on screen, but I am scrolling through for everybody to see the pictures that were submitted as part of your application. And then we could circle back around and you could describe a little bit what you're intending to do. So
Okay, good.
I've got through all the pictures so far.
This is the fence was exist before I moved here. My neighbor bought it, and so this is between me and my neighbor who after me. So this one is exist for maybe over the 20 years now. So the next one, do you want to go for the next one?
Sure. The second picture.
Yes, please. I don't need fence here. This is my house. I mean, this is the front of the house. I don't want to put a fence in the front of the house.
Okay, so but this is from the backyard looking towards Laurel
To the
Avenue, is that
front,
correct?
yes, right.
Okay. And then we'll look at picture number 3. That's existing fence.
That's existing fence again by the next door neighbor, and the one in the back is by the neighbor who's in the back.
Okay, so this is looking at the rear of your property.
Yes.
Great. And in this picture, picture 4.
Yes. Still, the fence was installed by my neighbor in the back.
Okay, so that's an existing fence that's going to remain.
Yes.
Picture 5
Still my neighbor fence.
to remain. Okay.
Yes. Here,
And picture 6.
here, exactly. Is if I needed to extend the fence from here to the end, which is to my garage, which is you need another 3 boards.
So this is a new fence that's been installed already.
Mm-hmm.
And is this the fence that you're here to discuss this evening?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you've already started the work, and there was no fence here previously.
No, it was bamboo bushes, and my neighbor sent me a warning. She said they're bothering her, and the roots is going to hurt property. So when I removed all the bamboo bushes, I became like every time she's in the backyard and I'm in the backyard, it was no privacy. So I came to the town in October to apply for a permit, and I bought just these 3 blocks permit until I get the permit.
So are we looking from your neighbor's property onto your property, or is this
No,
looking?
this is my property. Her property is the one behind the fence. You're in my yard here.
Okay, so you're putting the what they call the ugly side of the fence facing your neighbor's direction.
Or I bought 3 boards until I get the permit.
And I'm going to go to picture 7, which is again, I presume, looking to the front yard.
Laurel
you're-
Avenue. No fence
and,
here. No,
and there's no fence here.
no,
Okay.
no. I'm not putting anything.
Was there, and perhaps I missed it, was there a site plan showing the location of where you install a fence, like on a property survey or whatnot? Or a rough sketch just showing where the fence will be?
I believe we did. Where Mark has in the zoning has a sketch of that, where the fence is gonna go.
Andrew, unfortunately, she didn't have a survey, and the township did not have a survey in our records.
So we don't have any kind of plan indicating the location of where the fence will be on the property?
We do not.
Okay.
There is marks between me and my neighbor, big marks showing me the border between me and her.
So I went back to picture 6 of what you submitted because this is the only thing that we have that really indicates the intent of where the fence is. And I'm assuming you're extending this fence further to the back of the property, correct?
Yeah, until only the garage, which is 2 more board. That's it.
To the left or right of this photo?
Oh my goodness, to the left.
Okay, so the garage is not shown in the photograph.
Yes, you saw it earlier in the other photo. The picture before this, you could see the garage, and my neighbor has a fence there behind it.
Scroll through one more time.
This one, this is the green
This one.
garage. That's mine.
So if I was to just for the sake of understanding, if I was to draw a line here, that's where the fence is gonna go?
It's gonna be in the back of the garage, the edge of the back. This is the front of the garage.
Okay. Let me try one more time. So from here back,
No, there is no fence here. I don't want to put just from this side, the front side. Which one? The right side.
because I'm not 100% following. So,
The right side, the one is facing us. When we look at the picture, the first side of the garage.
so
Yes.
it would be
Don't eat
Here.
his food. Come on,
something like that.
come on.
Yes. I'm sorry, when I came, Mark has a picture of satellite picture and we marked in it. So I thought he attached it to the application.
Okay. I'm just having without the a site plan showing it, it's hard to visualize. So, just for the sake of trying to further the conversation,
Explain it.
this is going to extend.
Another
Something
two
like
board
that.
exactly to the edge of the garage. Yes, exactly.
Okay. So you're not going nothing over here.
No, nothing, nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just I need a privacy where I sit in the back and where my family doors. And when I'm sitting watching TV in my family room, I'm not like I'm really across from them.
And on the back side of this fence, right? There's fence posts, but just I'm assuming there's pieces of wood that come across like this, right, to support.
Yes,
But you're putting that side facing your neighbor's house.
right.
Okay.
I wasn't sure what's the right way, but my neighbor who you just saw his fence, he did the same to my yard. And when I asked him, he said it's, and I called the town. They said it's up to me, and because that face my family room, and the back does not face anything for her house all the way in Laurel Avenue, and that's behind her garage, so she doesn't have any view of the fence. I have the view of the fence. At this, when I looked out of my family door, I see this fence right in front of me. While for
Vince,
her
is
is
there
in the
any
back of
ordinance?
her garage.
Vince, is there an ordinance about which way the fence should be facing?
No, it is up to the individual homeowner. We do not have an ordinance mandating it one way or the other.
Okay.
Does anybody? I think we understand the scope at this point. Does anybody else have questions or comments?
I would like to know if this stockade or this fence matches the one on the rear property line. Is it the exact same thing?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to try and share. It's dangerous. Try and share. Not that. Stop sharing. Second here. Share. Just need to share content. So this is a Google Earth image of 47 Laurel, right? So that's your house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And where I'm pointing here with the cursor, that's the garage we were just discussing, right?
Right. From the garage to that big
So-
tree, I feel like that the fence.
Okay. So the fence would go back to my annotate tool. fence that you're proposing is gonna do this.
That's it, yes. Because there is a garage for her here, exactly, yes.
It's pretty straightforward.
It does, so, but you're not extending, beyond the
No,
garage.
no,
You're
no,
not
because,
extending beyond your garage.
yeah, no,
uh,
I'm not. I'm fine with my neighbor in the back, and I'm not extending it to the front or to the back, just where my family room across from that little privacy, that's all.
Okay. So now that we got that, I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay.
Um, does anybody have any questions? I'm gonna go around the table. David, what do you think about this?
I don't have a problem with it. I think it'd be hard to see from the street. It's just a fence between neighbours.
Okay. Not to spend too much time on it. I guess my one question for the group is are we okay with the ugly side of the fence being projected to the neighbor's property? Is that the appropriate thing to do here? And I want
Yeah.
to know if anybody has an opinion on that.
It matches the direction in the rear, and from her perspective.
What about the neighbor's perspective? Because remember, we're here for protecting the district as a whole, not an individual property.
I
Yeah.
think it's okay because she's got her other fences, their neighbors are facing her the ugly side too, so. I don't
Right.
think it, unless we're gonna ask them to change their fence to be the other way, it just feels like, you know,
So this is the fence at the back of the property?
No, yeah, that's my house. This is my sitting outside, and my neighbor put the ugly side to me too.
So her view is actually going to be the ugly side from her neighbor, but the good side from her. Just so we're all clear.
Yeah, I can add, if it's okay, that I drove by the property the other day, and this fence is not attractive from her address.
Okay.
If that
It'll
matters.
still be visible though.
Indeed, it's visible.
It's not like the new fence is blocking the existing fence. This is just an addition. And then this showing the fence in the back, this is showing that the non-ugly side is showing. I believe that fence might be, is that the quarry back there? I'm not sure.
No, that's the woman who tried to put a yoga center 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yep. All right. I think we've heard quite a bit on this. Does anybody have any final questions or comments or thoughts before we discuss moving forward? Dominic, nothing?
I would say let's make a motion.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve as applied for.
Okay, before we take a second, is there any discussion on the motion made by Bob before to approve as submitted? Seeing no discussion, is there anybody from the public that would make comment on this application before we take a final vote? Given the motion on the table, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick roll vote. Going in order of where I wrote your name down in the beginning. David Weaver, in favor?
Yep.
David. Hear me, David?
He said yes.
Oh, I guess I didn't hear him. All right, great. Bob LaCourte,
Yes.
Nancy, what are your thoughts?
Yes. No,
You're okay.
it's okay.
Jessica,
Yes.
Dominic, and Bill, how about you?
Yes.
All right, and I'm actually going to vote in favor as well. So it seems like the motion carries. So, all right, thank you. Vince will be able to help you through the next part of the process.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And good night, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a nice
Great.
evening.
Have a good
Bye.
evening.
Take
Night.
care.
The next application, 2021-36, this is 32 Elm. This is a continuation from the previous couple meetings. Who's here for 32 Elm?
I am Dan Fortunato, the architect.
Welcome, Dan. Why don't you take us through what you're presenting this evening? I'll start with the plans. Do you want to give a quick summary of where we are to date?
Yeah, that'll be good. I did forward over to Vince the revised drawings from the last meeting we had, and there were just a few items that I did address. Vince, if you could go to the first sheet, TS1.
I'm driving tonight, but it's moving slow. There you
Oh,
go.
okay. Okay, so if you could, well, it's a little messy here, but basically what we added right in the middle of the sheet, I have a typical window exterior trim detail using the AZAC trim. So I identify the AZAC sizes, which is going to be used around all the windows. And that was brought up last meeting about adding trim around the windows, which we did. And that was one of the comments. The second comment was the shutters, which we did adjust, and we added the louvers on the upper and the solid panels on the lower, and you can see that on the elevations across the bottom.
And they're proportional to the windows?
Yeah, we pretty much sized them so half and half. Now, we are still debating if we're going to use real hinges or not, but that's still a decision we can always make. But at the moment, they are going to be sized half and half.
Okay. It's a contemporary insertion into a historic district. I don't think we're going to be so hell bent on doing dogs and pintles unless you do want to.
Okay.
There's no point of recreating history on a new building. And
we also looked at aligning the windows, which we did a little more consciously on the side elevation. And we discussed last time also about the front porch, which is in poor condition, but we essentially added a note, which is going to be using as best we can the bricks that we do deconstruct from the front porch and use them on the front walkway. It's going to be a lot wider walkway too. So we're going to try and do some best we can. If not, we'll use new bricks, but essentially be a new brick walkway essentially in the front.
Okay. And just refresh my memory. One of the other things was, so we've already talked, hardy plank is smooth. We talked about that the last meeting. I think one of the other issues we discussed was chimney and roof penetrations.
Yeah, we're not gonna move forward with any real chimneys. We're gonna look at a more modern HVAC system, so we're not gonna really require any chimneys on the project.
So is there going to wind up being a B vent or something similar on the side of the house?
Right. Yeah. Yes. In general, yes. I don't have specifics because I haven't got involved with the HVAC end of it yet, but we are going to move forward with no chimneys on this project.
So the one thing that we're not showing is a location of condensers or that B vent at this time, right?
That's correct. I don't know where they're going to go yet.
Okay.
The condensing units we're going to keep to as best we can to the rear, or if we have to, in the side yard towards the rear of the structure. We're looking to put the new mechanical system in the basement, in sort of the middle section of the basement. There's sort of three parts to it that has an old basement where the stairs are, a middle storage area, and then the new basement.
Okay. You want me to flip to the exterior finish board next?
Yeah, nothing's really changed from this from last time. We pretty much, I think everybody on the board agreed on what we are using here. So nothing's really changed. We did incorporate the aesthetics into the project. There was a color rendering we had last time, which we used. There it is. Just to give you a general idea. I mean, this is not 100% up to date, meaning that this is sort of the last one we had. We do not show the trim nor the size of the shutters. This just gives you sort of a character feel of what the color scheme will look like. Just please ignore what the actual, my drawings show a little more accurately on what the products are going to be.
Just there was a reminder of what the streetscape was proposed to be. Again, Dan, this is not the updated to reflect the elevations, but just to give an overall idea, right?
That's correct. On the first drawing, TS1, I did give a streetscape with the actual heights of the buildings, just sort of a rough schematic on what the adjacent buildings are.
Okay. And that was Webex's not responding. There it is.
Yeah, the next TS1, the first sheet we had, that there was a streetscape I had on there. There it is.
Yeah, she's thinking slowly tonight. My computer. It's not. Okay, good. Does anybody have additional questions or comments on this?
On your drawings, there's a number of notes that say materials to be selected by the homeowner, like shutters to be selected, siding to be selected, and then you just mentioned that they're not, that other material sheet wasn't completely up to date. Are you definitely using the hardy? You're definitely using the smooth hardy plank, and do we have a shutter?
Right. I usually leave that on the drawings for reasons during the discussions I have with the contractor and the owner. But yes, in answer to your question, we are planning definitely to use hardy on this project. Now, it usually leaves it open due to budget reasons or whatever else might come, even delays on material. That's been a big problem lately. So I usually leave that sort of open-ended. However, we are going to definitely plan on using AZAC trim with the hardy siding.
Yeah, what we approve here is what you got to use, and if there's
which is fine. I don't disagree. I like it too. So I agree.
I will say that I think that you're going to have to just even if it's a condition of approval tonight, you're going to have to resubmit a site plan showing condenser locations and where that B vent's going to be. I think you've met all the other things that we've talked about. I think that that's the one open item, but I don't think that precludes us from taking a vote on this.
And make sure that when you submit for your construction permit, it specifically mentions in your notes the material that the commission approved.
That's okay. That's fine.
That's very important, because what I do is when we have something like this, I get it first. I email it quickly to Andrew, and Andrew, checks to make sure. So if that's not in the note, we won't be able to pass it along to construction.
That's fine. I'll do that.
Right. So does it? We've seen this in two other meetings, so I think this puts ties the bow on it. Does anybody have any questions? I can go around the table really quick. David, any questions from you?
No, I think this has come a long way in the last two, 3 meetings from what we originally first saw. Looks a lot better, I think.
Great. How about you, Bob? Anything?
No, good. No. It's everything looks good. Good job.
Nancy, any thoughts?
No, I'm okay.
Jessica?
Looks good.
Good. Dominic?
Yeah, I think it looks really good.
Great. And I think, yeah, I think this was a good example of, constructively working together to a solution that I think we're all comfortable with. So I would suggest, well, I'm not excluding you on purpose. You just haven't been here for the last couple meetings on this one. So since you're new, I would actually even suggest that you recuse yourself from a vote on this procedurally, just because you weren't part of the previous conversations. But of course is up to you. So when I call a vote, you're welcome to do that. That's just a procedural note for the new guy. I think that we're okay, and I would think that a motion on this would include the just the conditions that a site plan be submitted showing the location of any B vents or venting on the building and the location of the condensers. And I would think it also would include that the drawing notes must reflect the actual materials approved by the commission. That would be my
I will
suggestion.
make that motion, Andrew.
So I have a motion, Bob, I guess basically based on what I just said. Before we take a vote on that motion, does anybody have any questions or comments on the motion that's been presented? Seeing nobody from the board has come forward, is there any public discussion on this particular application before we take a vote? Any member from the public is welcome to unmute. Okay, seeing as that nobody from the public has come forward for a conversation, does anybody want to second the motion on the table to approve as submitted with the conditions as noted, which would be a resubmission of site plan for verification showing condensers and venting, and for the verification that materials are clearly indicated on the drawings based on what was approved?
I'll second that.
So I have a vote, motion LaCourte, and I have a second Weaver. I'll go around the table really quick for a vote. David, obviously you're going to vote yes.
Yep.
Nancy Hohenstein,
Yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
Dominic,
Yes.
Bill, what's your thought? You gonna vote? You gonna?
I'll abstain.
You'll abstain. Thank you. And I will vote in the affirmative as well. I think I got everybody. Yep. All right. So I think the motion carries, and we'll just see you. We don't even have to see you at a meeting. You just have to resubmit the documents we asked for verification, and Vince and I will review it.
Now, when you resubmit, though, that's talking about for building permits. Is that correct? The next time you see these?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you'd like to submit the site plan sooner, you're welcome to, but we'll be looking for it all as a package.
Okay.
Just wanted to say we really appreciate your feedback and working with us on this one. Thank you very much for all your help.
Thank you, Oris. Thank you for being so cooperative. I know it's stressful to have to do these things.
Hey, we learn a lot about history, about the town and things like that. So it's all good. It only benefits us. Thank you.
And that document I sent you for the historic nomination for your district, you get to learn about your neighbors' houses. Go through that document if you have, spare time. It's actually quite interesting.
Oh yeah, I went by house, especially the neighbors. Yeah, I talked to neighbors. I know what year your house was built and all that, and my house was here before yours and that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, East Millstone is quite a fascinating district. It's like a hidden jewel in Franklin. It's a wonderful place.
yes, we love it here.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Good night,
You
everyone.
too.
Night.
So the final formal application we have is actually for David Weaver at 13 Laurel. It's for a patio and door and steps. I guess, David, you can't vote on your own application, but now that you're the applicant.
Sadly not.
we're going to give you a hard time. I don't like
I
any.
know, exactly. I'm preparing myself for this. I should know what I'm doing by now.
So I'm going to go to your application for a certificate of appropriateness. Can you tell us a little bit about your project as I flip through?
Yes, so we bought the house about 7 or 8 years ago now, 7.5 years ago. It's about 100 years old. It's a Sears, we think it's a Sears Roebuck. It's of that style. Sears Roebuck Crescent, I believe. And we, since we've been in here, we've placed the windows, we've placed the doors, we've done quite a bit of work to the house. And one of the things we've realised we haven't been doing is using the outside area, the patio, like the backyard. And so we've got a side door and a front door, but it doesn't kind of like encourage us to go outside. So we're kind of looking at the house and wanted to put some access out to the back. Originally, we looked at a deck and things like that, but we just decided that we didn't want to change the look of the house too much. And as you can see, that's the back of the house. And so we're looking at we've taken out one of the windows and putting a patio door in and some kind of little platforms, some steps going down. We got a contractor. For some reason, this is all upside down, but I don't know how I've done that. And that's where the door, we're looking to get the door placed.
Just blame Vince. That's what I do.
And it may be the way I did this. I kind of put it together as a PDF. And so basically, the idea is that we take out a window, make the hole bigger, put a patio door in, put a little platform and some steps. And we've been talking to a contractor. They've been strongly advising a particular door. I asked for options in terms of materials because I'm aware of materials are an issue, and that's basically it. So we want to basically put a patio door out, so we use our little area at the back there, as you can see. So that picture there, that's the front of the house, where we've had the doors and the windows replaced. There's a couple of pictures of the sides of the house, and at the back, that last one, the window on the far right, there, we're looking to basically take that window out and put a patio door in. The idea is that the two windows in the middle are in the kind of like the main living room area, and we didn't want to ruin that symmetry from the inside. So where that red block is currently a spare bedroom, second bedroom, but we're going to make that into kind of a more living area where we can look out onto the yard. So that's kind of it.
So one thing that I don't see is are there going to be any railings or guardrails on this?
It's just no, there isn't. It's just going to be a small platform and some steps down. The contractor says that's fine, but obviously if there's a requirement in terms of building permits and things like that, that's different. But they seem to think that that's a reasonable thing to do.
It is within code to build a platform and steps without a railing if it's just you have to back me up on my residential code. I think it's 30 inches.
Yep, you're right.
So I think that's probably okay from a permit standpoint, but you're going to have to verify that. That's not within our purview.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, so we're using a contractor for this. So this is these are the plans from the contractor where they're showing the cutout, the platform, and the materials they're going to be using. Treks for the little platform and steps, and then basically they are advising a particular door, and I got a backup of a different material. So there's an Endura for a vinyl door, which they're saying is a better quality door, better warranty, etc., etc. And then I asked for a different material. So there's the Anderson Fibrex, which is the other option there. So
and why aren't you using an actual wood door?
Because the windows we currently have are actually the Anderson Fibrex, and obviously the wood requires looking after. and that requires me painting and things like that. So we decided against that if possible.
So just in terms of the site plan, I'm going to extrapolate here. We're talking about this back corner, right?
Yeah, that's basically it. So
So here's Laurel Avenue.
yeah.
So you're not going to possibly see this from Laurel Avenue because it's completely tucked behind the house, correct?
Correct, yeah. So basically, yeah, I mean, it's from the left-hand side of that, you've got there's a small fence and some bushes there that cover, so you don't see it from the left, and from the right, it's kind of you're completely across from. I think it'd be impossible to see from the actual street. So as you can see, yeah, so the right-hand side where we've got the generator and the fence, you're not going to see it from that side, and on the left-hand side of there, you're kind of the angle to actually see that's actually impossible.
Okay. Does anybody have David? Are you that's pretty much wraps up what you wanted to present, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Does anybody from the group have questions or comments on this particular application?
I have a comment. David, you mentioned you thought it was a Sears house. According to the Brahms book on the history of Franklin, it is a Sears house.
Yeah. 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 I've seen statements about saying it's a Sears house, but when we kind of bought the house, we couldn't find anything that was actually claimed it was, if you know what I mean. So we think it is. We think it's a Sears Robert Crescent.
I like it. The new guy comes out swinging.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm impressed. So yeah, but yeah, it's we like the house. As I say, we've been in it 7.5 years, and we didn't want to destroy the symmetry of those middle two windows because that's the dining room.
And the Braun book is an excellent resource for Franklin history. So, Bill, I'm glad you found that book.
Dave, I noticed your other windows have, like 6 light, and I think you have one that's like 12 light. Did you consider doing like a French door with like a 6 light panel or something like that to match those, or?
I kind of thought about it, but I thought with the kind of patio door, we wanted a sliding door that it kind of looks a bit false. I get it on the windows and kind of the front door, but on the kind of a sliding patio door, I thought it'd look a bit. It is what it is.
Yeah, on a slider, I wouldn't do it. I was just wondering if doing a French door would give you the same access, but then match the rest of the building.
Yeah, with the French doors, it's kind of then you're starting to kind of it has to open out or in, and then you kind of it's. Yeah, we didn't like the idea. We wanted the idea. Well, we like the idea of the sliding door. That's kind of when it comes down to practicality purposes.
You don't like this? I think the color works too.
Yeah, I think if it was in purple with the white, that would be really nice.
Be nice. Be a nice touch.
No, we haven't considered that. I mean, we could look at that, and
I don't.
I mean,
yeah, I don't think it matters what no one's going to see it. I just thought for your own, your own purpose.
Yeah, we might look at that. I might kind of. I mean, obviously we've talked to a contractor who's drawn up some plans for us, but we haven't chosen materials or door yet. So it's kind of a case of get that approved first, and then if we wanted to kind of do that, we can. But I think we like the idea of having the full panel so you can see completely out and view the garden. And those pictures don't look particularly great because it's middle of winter. I took those where normally we'd have flowers and various other things in those beds. But that's kind of the plan, that we can have somewhere we can sit and look out when it's not too. When it's a bit too hot or cold out there. Yeah, so that's where the plants would be perfect. Yes.
Never give an architect a drawing tool.
Yeah. During the summer we have lots of flowers there, and kind of want to enjoy that space at the moment, which is it doesn't really encourage us to come out there when you have to come out the side door, around the fence, past where we keep the garbage cans. It kind of puts us off kind of using that area rather than coming straight out to it. So
Yeah,
that's,
I don't particularly have any issues with this application as submitted. I would encourage you to verify the requirement for the handrails. And if
Yeah.
there is a need for a handrail and or a guardrail, that should come back to us
Okay.
for review. But I think that if you don't do a guardrail or a handrail because it's not required, I think I'm comfortable with what was submitted. I guess I would encourage you to match the door material to the material that you used on the windows, but I don't think it's necessary since it's on the back of the house.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same kind of principle that it's matching the windows of the doors, matching the materials of the doors and the windows would be a good idea. The only thing is the contractor's kind of trying to push me in the sense of this is a better door, this is a better that. So I need to kind of look at the details of that a bit more. Before I did that, I wanted to kind of make sure that you guys what came out of this meeting first, before I kind of bang my head against the wall for too long.
Yeah, and I think the beautiful thing about Sears Kit House is you know how people have modified them. You know, it's like a Levitt house. It's like it's almost more interesting to see how people modify them than to keep them as a jewel. So I don't particularly have an issue, and you know, I would encourage. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or want to propose a motion on this?
I have a comment.
Please.
I just wanted to add that when you're putting an exterior door at a first floor, it requires a light per NEC code.
Yeah, the contractors included that on his plans and costing.
Okay.
Yeah, they did when they first proposed. Well, when we first talked about the project, that wasn't included, but then they came back and said we need to put a light there.
Okay.
So yeah, the wiring a light there, and
So what would that light be, David? Where are you going to put it? Is it going to be recessed in the soffit? Is it going to be a small light to the side of the door?
It's going to be a small light at the side of the door. I haven't chosen a lamp yet. However, I got a suspicious feeling this is leading somewhere. But yes,
I think as long as it's a similar style to what you have on the front of it's actually that big of a deal because it's on the back, it's outside of view. You know, for better or worse, people add floodlights to their houses all the time.
yeah, there is actually a kind of a light further along. If you look next to there's a light just under the roof on the left, just next to the first long window. That's kind of like a floodlight that was there when we bought it. Yes, exactly. That's kind of like if it's dark out there, it kind of turns the whole garden bright. So it won't be anything like that. I think something a bit more sensible, as you say, like at the front where it looks nice. That would be what we'd aim for.
Any final questions, comments, or a motion?
I motion to approve if we can bring it forward.
I'll second it.
So I have a motion, Jessica. Before I take your second there, Bob, I gotta open it up for conversation. Is there any further conversation on the motion to approve the application as submitted from the commission? I'm gonna assume not. I wish we were giving David more help. Is there anybody from the public that would like to come forward and make comment on this application before we vote on the motion? Seeing as there's no public, I'll take that second, Bob, if you want to give it.
Go for it. Yes, I'll second it.
So I have a motion from Jessica, a second from Bob with no amendments. And we'll go around the table. Obviously, David, you are going to recuse yourself. Bob, you're going to vote in the positive since you already seconded it. Nancy, any thoughts?
No, I don't have any thoughts. I approve.
Okay, Jessica, it's your motion, so you're gonna approve. Dominic, do you yay or nay?
Yay.
Bill, yay or nay?
Yay.
And myself, I will yay. So we have a motion that carries forward to approve as submitted. All right,
Thank you.
thank you, David. Vince can help you work out the rest.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. So that closes out our formal, but we do have a rather interesting informal conversation this evening. So we're going to move on to that, which is 1076 Canal Road. This is an informal because it's going to be a relatively complicated process, I believe. And in this one, Steve, are you here?
I am.
Great. For the record, just state your name, please.
Stephen Androsco.
So why don't you explain a little bit what you want to do, why you want to do it, and what guidance we can help give you. I think that's why you're here, guidance, right?
Absolutely. I'll start with the reason why I want to do it. The remnants of Hurricane Ida was my 7th flood. It's time to do something. So my only 2 real options would be to leave the structure the way it is and elevate, or to knock it down and rebuild something away from the corner. I've gotten a lot of feedback from the county as far as they did a study of the county road going on from the causeway to Canal Road, and the sight line obstruction that the building poses at its current location is pretty severe. There are quite a few accidents there. Just from being there and having my business there, I've seen quite a few accidents there. So right now, the building there is the setbacks from Canal Road is from the southeast corner is about 6 feet from Canal Road and about 4 feet from the causeway. So when you stop at the stop sign, you cannot see any oncoming traffic. So I plan on building a new structure that's going to be about 30-foot setback from Canal Road and 25-foot setback from the causeway, which would give plenty of room for people to whether they're cyclists or vehicular traffic, they're going to be able to see have sight lines to see what's coming. The structure that I want to build is going to be approximately the same square footage of what I have now. It's about, I believe it's 1,650 square feet. But it will be elevated up to about 12 feet from grade, which is going to put me above the 2 feet above the current BFE. So it's going to be rectangular in shape, approximately 30 feet by 55 feet. And it's probably going to help out with the flooding, just because I'm going to have storage underneath that I'm going to be able to store a lot of my equipment. I'll be able to get rid of the trailer that I use for storage in the back. So the actual obstruction to floodwaters is going to be pretty much cut in half. So it'll help in that respect. I want to keep the appearance on the outside to try and look, similar to what's on the causeway. I was planning on having stucco exterior, and I was looking at my architect recommended a metal roof. They have metal roofs now that look like cedar shakes. So that was something I was looking into, but nothing's definite on the roof yet. The height of the building is going to be about 27 feet, I believe, which is going to be slightly taller than the bridge tender's house.
So question on that, you're saying that you want to move this 30 feet back from where its current position is in the direction of the bridge tender's house. So
Correct.
How close are you going to be to the bridge tender's house? That's going to be something that we're going to have to really look at, and I'm sure that the DNR Canal Commission will be very keen on that as well.
Yeah, the DNR Canal Commission. Yeah, there's well, the DNR Canal Commission and DEP. I'm in violation of pretty much every ordinance out there. So it's going to be a like you said, a complicated issue getting all the permits from everybody. When I spoke to I had a meeting with the DNR Canal Commission already. Their main concern seems to be the appearance on the exterior to keep the architecture congruent with what's there now, and also they're concerned about the impervious surface area, which is also going to be reduced. So as far as the DNR Canal Commission, from what I've spoke to them, just like you guys speak to you informally, they seem to think it's going to be doable.
So can you tell us a little bit about the existing house? I know that anecdotally there's it was moved to that location at one point, and there were other ones also on that site, right?
Yeah, there were 4 bungalows located on the property, and in the early 20s, they moved the 2 east-facing. I think they left the furthest east-facing bungalow where it was. They moved the next closest one adjacent to it, and then attached those. And the remaining 2 bungalows, one went across the street to the llama farm, and the other one went somewhere in Northville. And then in the 43-ish, 44-ish, around there, there was the store and house there were elevated 4 feet. They were at grade originally. And there's been a couple small additions in the back. They added a kitchen. The front, there was a porch, which was enclosed when they did the elevation in the 40s. So it stopped being a general store, closed down. The general store closed in 1980.
And that's when it was converted to 2 rental apartments, right?
Yes.
There used to be the general store on the first floor and then a rental unit above, correct?
No, it was a side by side.
Side by side.
Yeah. So the one side was the general store. The other side was the owner's apartment.
And the storage unit you referred to, that's for the canoe rental, right? That's
Yeah, that's just going to be yes, it's just going to be a basic storage for equipment, and I'll have a lot of room under there, so I'm sure it'll fill up.
So we're not really in the business of uses, but I'm assuming that your intended use for the canoe rental will not change.
That is correct.
You're only going to be changing this building and making it 2 units again.
Yeah, well, it's going to be the same. It's going to be a side by side duplex, and the only difference is that it's the footprint is going to be moved over approximately 25 feet, because it's going to be 30 feet from the boundary, and then it's going to be raised 12 feet to keep it out of the floods.
Right. No, I'm sympathetic to your problem and the location, and I know you've been hit by trucks in the past in that building.
Just recently, within the last 2 weeks, I was it again.
Yeah.
I took down my 4x4 with my things on there, so that but it actually worked pretty good for a while.
So, I mean, you're seeking just general advice on this, I'm assuming, and kind of a path forward. I'll let others speak as well, but I think, to echo what the Canal Commission said, I think that the final aesthetics are going to be really the driver on this. I'll be upfront. My concern is the height that's going to be proposed. And I mean, I understand being above the flood, and I'm well versed in the base flood elevation and you know, the buzzword we use is designing for resiliency. So I'm very sympathetic to that. I just think it's going to boil down to what the aesthetics are.
Right.
And when you ultimately have the architect lay this out, I think that you're going to have to do, what we were talking about in the 32 Elm application earlier. You're going to have to make sure that the architect draws the things around it. Show the canal house in a drawing so we understand what this will do to the canal house visually. The bridge tender's house.
Yeah.
I luckily was the architect that got to do the restoration on that building many floods ago, so I have a soft spot for it. So
on the bridge tender's house.
On the bridge tender's house, yeah, I
Yeah.
did that with the federal DOT grant with Millstone Byways. It was a great project, a lot of collaboration. Anybody else have any thoughts or advice? I'd really like to get a lot of people's comments here. Nancy.
Yeah, I was first impressed that he wants the stucco exterior, which would be in line with what's at the bridge tenders and the mule barn, that stucco rather than anything clapboard. So.
And remember, the stone face on the bridge tender house is a faux colonialization of that building, right? So that building would have been fully stuccoed. That exposed stone is actually to detriment of the building.
Well, it's only on half the part you see.
So is this going to take away that little parking area that's kind of between the house now and the bridge tender's house?
No, that parking area is going to stay the same. If just as a reference, where the fence is now and that parking area ends, the building is going to the west side of the building is going to be maybe about 8 or 10 feet from that fence. So
okay.
Yeah, I tried keeping the what I consider the when I talk to the DEP, they don't want me going closer to the brook or the canal. So I tried to figure out the best location for you guys, for neighbors, for the DEP, and also for me, because I still have to run a business. So I can't stick it in the middle because I'll have no room for my customers. So.
Yeah, this is one of those projects where you really need sky hooks, right? I mean,
yeah.
How else are you going to do it?
Put the whole house on pontoons.
Just let it float.
Yeah.
That's not a bad strategy.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. Put it on a barge with some heavy duty piles. So it just go up and down. Anybody else have thoughts, Nancy? That was good insight. Anybody else?
I would say just bring as much detail as possible. We're going to want to see all the finishes, and I wouldn't mind seeing an elevation from the canal so we know what that's going to be in terms, especially with the height that you're proposing.
Yeah. I don't know the exact height yet because I'm not sure what pitch the roof is going to be. But it should be like I said, a few feet taller than the bridge tender's house. And being that it does sit a little bit lower and it's going to be a bigger structure, I don't think it's going to look out of place there.
Yeah, and I think that's key, right? I mean, you're demolishing a somewhat historic structure in a very historic corridor, so you got to be cognizant that it fits in with the neighbors and is sympathetic to the adjacent buildings. So like a Toll Brothers McMansion would not fit here, for example. No. Very simple building would be most appropriate.
Right. Yeah, I plan on doing, like I said, keeping it with the. I don't know. Did you guys see the drawings that I had, or?
See one.
Yes.
Are they here? Did I miss
Yeah,
them?
they were sent to us.
They were, right? Oh, they are. Okay. I didn't see
I
them
was
voting. There we
I
go.
was going to comment that while the simplicity is nice and it kind of fits in with the bridge tender's house, I just think you might want to investigate with your architect a horizontal band of some sort. You're going to need to separate, the bottom level that's flood prone from the livable conditioned space up top. So the bottom would be treated in some sort of an impervious type stucco, non-conditioned, you don't need all your, weather wrap and things and insulation. So you're going to have to separate that stucco in some way from the stucco or whatever the material is up top. I think it's going to cause a horizontal separation of some sort. So that might need to be treated in some way.
Yeah, that I don't know. I was planning on having the same stucco on the lower half and the upper floors, but if it needs to be different, I don't know. Like you said, the bottom part of the building is not even going to have it's just going to be framed out. So there's not going to be any insulation or any type of anything underneath there other than what's needed there for structurally to keep the house there, especially when it floods.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, modern stucco, you'll need that 100 square inch, sections for control joints and things. But when you're going from a conditioned wall to a non-conditioned wall, that is just asking for cracking. It's going to react differently. And then
Yeah.
you need your
Okay.
weather barrier, your weather wrap behind the stucco up top, but not on the bottom. And you need to flash that out. So I'm just thinking you're probably going to need some conversations with your architects
Yes.
to resolve that.
Yeah, I know nothing about stucco, aside from the Marx Brothers movies, but yeah, that's something that I'm going to leave up to him because I really don't know.
Yeah, no,
But thank you for the input, though. That's something I'll bring up to him.
no, that's a good comment, Jessica. The differential in thermal temperature will cause cracking if you don't control it. And then, if you don't put a horizontal, you're going to wind up with a horizontal right along here.
Sure are.
They'll probably look something just like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you almost want to treat it like you almost want to treat it like an elevated shore house, right?
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
not that that's the appropriate aesthetic, but that's probably the appropriate construction technique.
Right.
And thank you for reminding me about the drawings. I was remiss in not putting them on screen. I mean, because the general aesthetic that this is showing is starting to look almost more like a barn, right?
Yes.
So, if you're going for that barn look, maybe go full barn with it. Not sure that that's the right direction. I'm just thinking out loud here.
Yeah.
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 Don't make it something it's not.
Yeah. The only thing with the barn, I think the barn roofs are usually quite
Higher.
steep, and because I'm trying to be mindful of the height of the building, I was trying to keep it as low as possible. But I'll speak to the architect. But that was one of the reasons with the barn doors and the in the facing Canal Road. We're trying to simulate some type of older structure, whether it be a barn or some type of storage facility, because where these types of buildings lined the canal during its heyday.
And also be mindful, I know that this is a very, very primitive sketch, but modern codes are going to require flood doors. Even though you have doors that open, there's going to have to be flood doors that open automatically to relieve the pressure on the building as floodwaters rise. So
Yeah.
there's going to be some on the leeway and on the opposite side of the building.
Yeah, one of my thoughts were if you saw the opposite side of this, I do have doors here. They're sliding doors, but because this is be the part that I'd be using for storage for getting in and out. But I could always design something. I'm not sure, what percentage of the surface area would need to have the flood doors. But if it's, you know, approximately this size or smaller, I could use these and just have them.
You'll have to double check the code, but I'm pretty confident that the codes doesn't allow this to count towards that. You're going to need flood control in addition to manually operated doors. It has to be an automatic procedure. That way it releases the pressure on the building. So
Yeah.
the architect will look into that. I'm just trying to, give you things to think about.
Yep. No, I appreciate it. That's why I'm here.
I have a second comment, just because the floor plate will be so high off the ground that maybe a portion of or all of the egress stairs might want to look at an option to put that internal to the structure rather than external
Yeah, I
or half and
I
half.
thought about that. It's something as far as with the floor plan, because it would take up a lot of these are.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
not,
small floor plan. You're right.
Yeah, it's a small floor plan. It's not very big. So, I was trying to, maximize the interior space. I will need a deck out here. This is where, because everything needs to be up above, the flood, BFE. But so any type of air conditioning unit or something like that will have to be on this deck.
I would think that whether we have to go to the zoning board or not, and the commission recommendation, if you have to go to the zoning board, if the aesthetics worked better of having the access with the stairways inside, I don't think that anyone would have a problem with you increasing the size of the structure a little bit.
Okay.
If we thought, especially if the historic commission thought that the internal stairs, the access was better from an aesthetics viewpoint. So I think you really want to take a good look at that with your architect and have that option available when you come to the commission.
Okay.
Having it that facing the canal with the exterior staircase may be a little bit too much for what the commission and the Delaware and Canal Commission may be willing to approve. So, I mean, the zoning board and or the rest of the staff would be willing to work with you to make that look better from aesthetic point of view.
Okay.
And the other piece of that is, I'm not sure what the IRC says, but I know if this was an IBC code, you would have to have a covering over those or kind of ice melt, because it's creates a safety issue in deep snow and ice. So just another thing to consider.
Okay.
So it may be okay. I'm not sure. It's not my area specifically of expertise, but just from a safety standpoint, I would think that you'd want those stairs covered.
Yeah. Well, it's I have slip downstairs like this, during ice storms and things like that. So this would be a pretty long ride, if you did slide. So as far as that's concerned, as far as safety, having an interior staircase would be definitely better. But that's something I'll go over with my architect. I'll have to adjust the floor plan a bit in order to incorporate that.
And maintenance too. It's probably easier to maintain an interior staircase than, an exterior one.
Yeah, good point.
And I saw a deck that I thought was never going to go anywhere. pull off the building next door to you in the last flood. So
Yeah, that became a tree house in my backyard. So
yeah, I didn't think that. I thought that deck was going to be there long after the house fell.
yeah. Well, it fell down, and yeah, I believe a volunteer came and you know, got rid of almost all of it. There's a little bit still there, but yeah, that was it was a pretty fierce flood. That one, that was pretty bad.
And you know, I would recommend that you look at the checklist on the back of the application when you're ready to come for a formal application, so that you make sure that everything you need is included.
Okay.
You know, the plans, details, material selections, and such. There, you know, there's a checklist, and like we said, I think that a little extra care is going to have to be taken to make sure the views of the building are accurate and represent things like the view from the canal, the view from the causeway, the view coming up and down Canal Road, the adjacency to the canal house. I think those are all things that are going to be pretty important.
Okay.
And I think that for me, the aesthetic should not, it should be sympathetic, but we shouldn't recreate a false history, right? So don't try and make a historic looking building just to make a historic looking building. There's ways of doing that with more contemporary materials. And you know, that's something you can explore with your architect to make this stand out a little bit.
Right. There was a engineered type of stucco that might not have problems with the different temperature change or something like that, because it has fiber inside, sort of, and so you know, that's something I'll go over with him. You know,
I would caution you of doing anything that is foam backed. So like an IFE system, which is, you know, fake stucco over styrofoam.
Uh-huh.
If your building's going to flood, that stuff's going to pull off the side of the building because it's going to want to float. So
yeah.
Just be mindful of those materials.
Okay.
And if you want to develop this further and come back for another informal conversation, we're happy to do that. I don't know what your time frame is, but we're open to keeping a dialogue going to help you out as much as we can.
I appreciate that. You might be seeing me every meeting until I have my permit, but right now I'm my first order of doing this is to get the DEP and the DNR Canal Commission to get theirs done, and then once I get their agreements for permits, I'll have the spend the money on the architectural plans and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. No. I like I said, I fully appreciate that you're in a tricky position and a tricky location. And there could be some really great things that come out of this if it's done right. I mean, so I think there's a lot of potential.
Yeah,
so
I think so too. It's the building itself is not of any historical significance architecturally, but it is a sentimental structure there. So.
I will think that, so there's going to be another part to this project that we haven't discussed, which is as part of it, you're really going to be seeking a demolition permit at the same time. And when somebody requests to demolish a building, there's usually a series of things that we tend to ask for, and one of which, may be a historic structures report, which could be done by the architect. But it's usually just a short description of what the historic nature of the building was. And since this was, one of that grouping of 4 bungalows, there may be something there that's worth just documenting. We could talk about that a little bit more, and I would encourage you to look at the checklist, like I say, because it has some of this information. But there may be some requirements as part of the demolition of the existing building.
Okay, the checklist you're talking about, is that the building permit checklist, or is that the?
It's it's part of the attachment to the application to our commission,
Okay.
certificate of appropriateness. So it talks about some of those things. So I would just encourage you to take a look at that.
Okay.
So I hope this is
You may
helpful.
want to tell them to be prepared for a slight dig there, Andrew.
I'm not sure. I know where you're going with archaeology. I think we need to see what the application looks like, because if we're doing something that's on piles, for example, or something along that nature, it's going to be very minimal disturbance. So I think we need to see what the proposal is. Because what Bob is alluding to, Steve, is that a lot of times for demolitions, especially when we know they're in a sensitive location, we'll ask for a base level of an archaeological study done, and that's basically shovel tests to see if there's any artifacts and such. So I don't want to say that that's going to be something that we're going to have to talk about until we know what you're putting here, for sure.
Okay.
But that's where you were going, right, Bob?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that is a sensitive area there, and the tender's house and the trading that could have been there, and especially the tender's house of paying the tolls and the coins that may be around there. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that could be. And the state demolished the house across the street. They left the well, right? But they demolished the rest of the building. So it's we're losing a lot of the pieces of the fabric in that area because of the flooding.
Yeah.
And that's a big conversation in the preservation world right now. Is preservation in a world where climate change is really affecting things.
Yeah.
So that's why I said what you do here could actually be very interesting and impactful.
I might be held up as a model of what to do in a flood zone.
Maybe do it right. So if you come up with any other questions that you'd like, quicker answers to, I'll be happy to take those questions, get them to me through Vince. Vince
Oh,
will
that would be
filter
great.
them through, and we're here to be as helpful as possible. I know people think that we're here to be obstructionists, but that's not the case. We try and be as helpful as possible. We want to make sure that we're protecting the districts and making sure that what's put back is the appropriate thing. So.
There's the checklist.
Okay.
There's one of them. Yep.
Unfortunately, I can't make out what's on there, but at least I know the size of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just take a look at that, and if there's any other questions, like I said, even if it's on what you need to submit moving forward, let me know. I mean, I'll be upfront with you. I think that even when you make a formal application, we're gonna go a couple meetings worth of conversation, but I think we're gonna get us into a place where this is, good. I think you could leave tonight with knowing that our commission is not objectionable to this idea, because
Okay.
we understand the situation.
All right. Great.
Just there's going to be complicating factors that we'll work through.
Yeah. All right. Listen, I thank you guys very much for all your input, and we'll be seeing each other again, I'm sure.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you for the informal. It always makes these more helpful as we move forward.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye.
Good evening.
Good luck.
Hey, Andrew, before we move on, and I see that Councilman Rahm is on, and I don't know if he got on. I don't remember if he got on before 32 Elm, but I just need to make him aware that 32 Elm has been here 3 or 4 times, and they started off, it was a very lengthy discussion, probably an hour and a half, about the different things that the commission thought they should do. The second time they came back, it was another hour, and we went over in some detail. And tonight, I think it was the 3rd or 4th time they came back, and in about 10 minutes, we clarified everything. And that's exactly how the the commission's supposed to work. And if you saw, the homeowners were extremely pleased. The architect was pleased because you guys helped him out. The entire commission helped him out a lot to give him a sense of the importance of what that house, how it needed to fit into the neighborhood. And it was the perfect example of where the commission was the historic commission and not what a lot of people think are the hysterical. And they've talked to me offline that we're extremely impressed on how professional the commission was and how they were trying to be helpful and not obstructionist. So I gotta commend the commission on how you were able to move something that really didn't look very nice, if you remember when we first saw it. And now it really looks nice and it fits in with the district.
Thanks, Vince. I really appreciate that update. Sorry, folks, that I had a conflicting meeting at the Sewerage Authority. I'm a commissioner there as well. So I stayed there as long as I could, and I left to attend this one. Just so you know, I am in India since last Friday. So I started that meeting at 4:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. So it's nothing new that I'm always, I'm an early riser. So 4 a.m.s are a regular routine for me. But I'm happy to join, and I appreciate what Vince said. I think in the 2 meetings I've attended, I noticed that you're all very, very dedicated, very knowledgeable, and really being helpful to the community. And in fact, I made such a comment in the council the last week about how well you're all prepared, how much time you spend on analyzing the issues and talking it out. Really, it's a privilege to work with you all. And welcome, Mr. Burse, and I think he would be a great addition to this team. I think we would hope to. I have to. Does this meeting, if this meeting is going to conflict with my Sewerage Authority meeting every first Tuesday of the month, perhaps I have to look into maybe changing one of the 2 schedules, which we have done in the past. But that's a topic of discussion for another day.
All I know is I'm a little disappointed that sewage took precedent over us. That's all I'm going to say. Now we know where we are in the pecking order. That's pretty crappy. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I will point out that when Bob mentioned, I did not know, Ram, that you were in India. Bob had mentioned that Phil had told him you were in. I did not. So 1 week you're in India, and tell the commission where you were a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, a couple of weeks ago, the second, third week of December, we had been to Antarctica. That's a trip that we had postponed from 2020. It was an expedition trip, so we went in a small ship and visited a bunch of islands and observed, all sort of habitats, reproducing, breeding. It's summer there at this time of the year, so it was once in a lifetime trip. Not for everybody, especially passing the Drake's Passage, where these 3 oceans meet. It was rough, really, really rough for a day and a half each way. But yeah, and Antarctica was another continent, and then the U.S. Continent, and this week I am in Indian subcontinent. So 3 continents in a matter of 30 days.
Just make sure you follow COVID protocol when you get back.
I know. This is that's the biggest challenge for everybody.
Great. Well, thanks, Ram, for attending. I do want to move forward with the agenda so we can close this out. I do want to open it up per the agenda for public discussion. Is there any members of the public that have anything else they'd like to bring forward to the commission? Unmute and say hi. No public coming forward. What I will do is let's open the agenda a little bit here. as we roll into correspondence, I'm not sure if anybody noticed, but there's a couple names on the list that are unusual for us. And we have a couple members of the New Jersey Historic Preservation Office observing tonight. Anybody from that group want to say hey?
Hi, this is Lindsay. I'm sorry. Hold on a second.
It's okay, Lindsay. You're in an infinite loop, like a all
I
near.
know.
I think her name was Lindsay.
I don't know if you can hear me. I'm having trouble with my computer, so I've called in on my cell phone.
No, we hear you.
So thank you for acknowledging our attendance, and we're happy to observe your meeting tonight.
Great.
I don't know what Vince shared with you previously. Your municipality was selected for monitoring for the 2022. No, I don't even know where I am. Yeah, 2022 calendar year. We are required to monitor a quarter of our CLG communities every year. So your municipality is up for monitoring, and our attendance at this meeting is part of that process.
Well, welcome. And we welcome any feedback or conversation you have.
Thank you.
That is pretty impressive.
That's my heart, by the way.
Thank you. This is Andrea Tingy, also from the Historic Preservation Office with Lindsay and my cat. We're very happy. It's always great to get out in the field and see people doing the hard work in the trenches. And we look forward to having a discussion about ways that we and the Certified Local Government Program can better support your efforts here.
Great, thanks, Andrea. We haven't seen you in a while. You gave us a windshield survey tutorial a few years back. You may recall, and of course,
I do.
We always run into you at the preservation conference. Hopefully, that comes back soon.
I believe they're planning an in-person conference for June in Trenton.
That would be awesome because we all need our continuing education credits. That has been the single biggest challenge over the past few years. I'm sure you hear that a lot, but getting continuing education has been difficult.
Kudos to you guys for keeping up your meeting schedule. We're dealing with a number of communities who haven't had technical support from their municipality, haven't had the bandwidth amongst their board members to continue to meet virtually. So you guys are doing a really good job of that for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate
We
that.
had probably our busiest year last year. I think we had almost 40 applicants, and that doesn't include all the informals that we had. So, I mean, we had meetings where we had 8, 9 applications, if I remember correctly, right, Andrew?
Yeah, that has happened. We're going to try and not let that happen, but that has happened. And fortunately and unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, the application for 32L in the night is not uncommon. We'll often see applicants on multiple meetings after, going rounds and rounds to make sure that the application meets the requirements of our ordinance. But great. Feel free to chime in if anything pops up. We're all here to get your feedback and learn what else we could do for CLG. And on that, moving forward, Bob, is there any open space?
Not really. It was mostly for the grasslands and what we're going to be doing with the grasslands. That's really, and looking and finally trying to get the budget and look at the money coming in and the money going out.
Okay.
But there is something I want to bring up later real quick too, Andrew.
Under new business?
In new business. Yeah.
Okay. I will say that under reports, I did attend the second stakeholder for the New Jersey Preservation Plan update that's going on. You know, this is the second of the stakeholder meetings. The first one I reported on in the last meeting. This is basically about developing draft goals and objectives for moving forward. That's what these workshops are gearing towards. The goals and objectives are due in the late spring. This meeting really kind of focused on, you know, 5 main points, which is, you know, preservation engagement, community planning, diversity and equity inclusion, climate change, and you know, community engagement. There was a series of breakout sessions, and you know, it's a broad group. It's commissions, it's historic groups. It's it was something that, you know, it's good to hear everybody's feedback. So there's one more of these working stakeholder groups coming up. I'll attend and report back on it. But it looks like there's going to be a good preservation plan update coming out of this. So more to come, and that's good stuff. In terms of unfinished business, I know it's not listed on here, but Vince and I had a meeting last week to hammer out the budget for next year. And the reason why this is germane to certify local government is because we're gearing up to try and go after one of the matching grants to work on design standards and guidelines for really any of our districts. It's going to be a challenge to develop guidelines and standards, as any one of you know, because our 5 districts have unique characteristics. That's why we're not really going to call it a design standard, but more the design guideline. So we, as of right now, we've requested $15,000 to be included in our budget so that there's potential for the match if we can get one of these grants. We're going to have staff helping to do some grant writing, staff being Vince and whoever Vince can get to help. So hopefully we're going to get that underway. Jessica went to the workshop last year, so she Andrea's camera came on. So you know, we have a little bit of background in going after some of these grant opportunities. So hopefully the writing starts. We're going to work on that.
That's wonderful to hear. The grant applications for this past round closed earlier at the end of January. So you have almost a full year to work on a proposal. And I know that Lindsay would be happy to work with you, Andrew, or with Vince and provide you some technical assistance, maybe some scopes of work for previously awarded projects of similar type and scope. And also, right now we don't have a matching requirement, so that's great news. And the grant amounts are between $15,000 to $50,000. And then for the next round of grants, we believe that the application system is going to migrate to an online system, a variant of Sage that will be customized to our program. We're in design development for that now, and we will be doing workshops to help municipalities get used to this new way of doing things. So stay tuned for that. That's all I wanted to add about that.
No, that's great. I'm glad you chimed in. Actually, since you volunteered Lindsay, maybe what I'll do is try and set up a call with her and Jessica, who's also on the meeting tonight, so we can start picking her brain about getting ready for that grant writing. I think that design guidelines are going to go a long way for us in being as consistent as possible with our application review. So, you know, it's a big ask for us. We're doing some internal things on revamping some stuff. We're looking at revamping our our application process. We're looking at revamping some of our bylaws. We have a pretty ambitious goals list for the year, but getting a grant and getting a consultant on board to help us with guidelines would be huge. So we're appreciative of the grant opportunities.
Happy to work with you. I'm happy to work with you, Andrew. Reach out whenever you're ready.
Awesome. That's great. Thank
Do
you.
you want me to put my contact info in the chat, or do you have that?
I might have it. If not, I'll reach out to Andrea. I have her contact information. And we'll
Sure. And there are some really interesting projects, recent projects for design guidelines that incorporate issues about sustainability and flood-prone areas, which from today's meeting, I imagine would be of tremendous interest to this commission.
Well, we border 47 miles, I think it is, of the canal. So flooding is not a problem for us. Or 27 miles. It's something like that. We have a lot of canal frontage. Great. Rolling into new business. Bob, what do you got?
Andrew, I was only trying to bring up, we had the fence and roofing, and I've been kind of for 5-10 years yelling and trying to fast track some of those things. I mean, we spent, I think, 25 minutes on something like that, where maybe you and Vince and somebody else can just get together and fast track a fence or something that is pretty easy, rather than go through the whole process of,
So perfect segue, Bob. In the last meeting or in the end of December, I introduced the idea of doing a more fast-tracked way of doing minor applications. And we also talked about the idea of capping when we'll start hearing additional applications. That, like 9:45 is a cutoff for a new application in terms of time. I'm drafting language to go into the bylaws that will speak to that will be presented to the group for discussion. And I'm also looking at what ordinance adjustments we might need to do to also back that up. So we're on top of it. It just, things move a little slowly sometimes, but good suggestion.
And I'll be more than happy to be on that committee if you want.
Great.
I think, Bob, that would be an excellent suggestion to incorporate into the new checklist and new application, having tiers of applications where if it is a minor application, as long as they check the boxes and submit the materials appropriately, it could be an administrative review throughout the month.
And I would write that into the bylaws to be that it's still by committee, but by small committee, maybe chair and vice chair or any of the presiding officers. But we'll hammer out that language. I think that we need to be careful with that, just because we don't want it to be over expansive what could be reviewed administratively, because that becomes a slippery slope with sidestepping the entire process. So we need to be careful with that language, which is why I want to take our time and do it, as tight as possible. And if we need the township attorney to even review it, Vince can have that done as well.
Yeah, and I can tell you, Andrew, when I was in Newton, we went through exactly the same thing, where as the commission got busier and busier, and then we wound up with an ordinance change and a bylaws change exactly the same way, where we had the chair and the vice chair and one or two other members, and the staff member happened to be me. And we would get an application, and as long as all three members of the subcommittee, and it wasn't 2-1, it had to be unanimous, that they had to be okay. And the staff member, then we would approve it, and it would come as a report to the next count, the next historic commission meeting, saying this is what we approved. And then we'd have a discussion on that to make sure that everyone was comfortable, and that there needed to be made changes. But it saved a lot of time, because I mean, this last year, we had a lot of fences and roofs and everything else that if we had the design guidelines and everything else, we could have spent less time dealing with those minor issues. Like tonight, it was 20 minutes because the applicant was less than totally prepared. She was, you know how it works with us. We have an applicant 2 months ago, we had an architect, did a very complicated submittal. 35 minutes, 40 minutes later, they were approved because they had everything.
Right.
When we have to pull the information out of them where they didn't give us a survey because they didn't have the survey and you have to have on Google Earth, it takes time to do that. So when we have the ability to do that offline administratively, and I can tell you that I am positive council will be more than willing to make any ordinance change that is necessary so that the public can move through the system quicker.
Yeah, I just would like to specifically outline the scenarios in which this is appropriate, such as, as is replacement of roofs, as is replacements of, siding, fence applications that meet guidelines. So that's, part of the reason why the guidelines becomes key, because if things are done per the design guidelines, then it's an
Yep.
easy approval. So, these are all things that I think we're pointing to. So I think that's good.
Yeah, and Andrew, we have something, what we do for the planning board, it's a technical review committee where we adopted an ordinance that allows staff to approve certain site plan applications if they meet certain criteria. But there's 7 members of this TRC, myself being one of them. And if any of the one of us doesn't believe we should approve it, it goes to the planning board, because we don't want to be in a position where we do something that the planning board, in this case, the commission may not feel is appropriate. So when we come up with this, it doesn't mean that every time we do a roof or every time we do a door, that it won't come to the commission, because if there's 1 or 2 members of the commission that don't feel it's appropriate, it'll go to the full commission. So we have to be very flexible in how we write.
That's great. And we'll work on that.
This is Lindsay from HPO. It sounds like a great idea. We have seen commissions, as they evolve, move toward this type of change in their ordinance. And we would also be happy to talk to you about what you're thinking and provide you with example language that we have from other municipalities that have that type of review. And also, I would like to remind you that any changes to your ordinance would need to come to our office for review and comment. So we're happy to be involved in that process early to help give you guidance.
That's really helpful, Lindsay, and I appreciate that. And another thing that we're going to want to that we've talked about doing as a goal for this year is reevaluating our demolition section of our ordinance. So that's something else we could talk to you about offline. We'll be looking for other examples of maybe ways of strengthening our demolition portion of our ordinance.
We're happy to help and hear from you and be involved in any way that's useful.
I think you just opened the Franklin floodgates.
That's okay. We have a whole program in our office dedicated to CLGs. That's what our section does.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other new business?
Andrew, I'm just going back to, getting some CLGs. I've signed up for a webinar. The National Trust for Historic Preservation is doing a webinar on February 24th at 3:00.
Oh, cool. Can you forward that link or information on it?
Sure. We'll do it.
Yeah, if you send it to me, I can share it with everybody. That's great.
Okay.
Everybody needs to keep up on their continuing education. I know it's hard to do, but we got to do it. Anything else in new business before we adjourn? Okay, it looks like we're ready to adjourn. Next meeting is March 1st. So we'll come with bells on. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?